You are not.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. How are you?
All right, all right. I'm just sitting at that turn because I don't think about that. Oh, he was great. We're very. Yeah. Well, yeah, I got I think.
If everyone could please find a seat so we can get started on time. I want to be in this row. Aloha, everyone. Good evening and thanks for being here. Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you for joining us this evening. We haven't had a regular town meeting since October, so we're having potential technical difficulties. You've seen what the internet's been doing the last couple days, so we'll hope for the best. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nancy Carr-Smith. I'm the president of the Waimea Community Association. I want to thank Mary Beth Lachak for taking the reins and being president in 2025. Thank you, Mary Beth. We have a new vice president, Lonnie Olson Chong. Carrying over as treasurer is Victor Tom. Secretary Michaela Bruno. The directors are Riley Smith, David Greenwell, Patty Cook, Chris Wong, who will be along shortly, Ryan Nishijima, and our newest board member, who I'm super excited to announce and welcome, is Hannah Brady. Thank you all. We welcome you. We want to mahalo Keck Observatories for providing this space for us. Please help me mahalo Andrew Odell.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of Keck Observatory, just wanted to welcome you to our space. We like to make this space available to community nonprofit groups. And so really just happy that you're here with us today for what will be an excellent meeting. And the event, just a couple housekeeping things. In the event you need the restrooms, just out through the doors and then directly behind you is where you'll find the restrooms. In the event that there is any sort of emergency or anything like that, exit through these doors and meet in the parking lot. But just wish everybody a thank you again for being here and excellent meeting.
Thank you, Andrew. We're streaming live on WCA Facebook page, hopefully.
Yes.
As well as on our YouTube channel, which can be found on our website at waimeatown.org. This recording will be made available for later viewing, and we thank you to those who could join us in person. If you haven't already done so, we encourage you to become a member of WCA. You can do that by talking to Riley or Patty at the front desk. You can mail us a check. The PO box is on the agenda, or you can go through our website. We're accepting memberships for 2026, $20 for an individual and $30 for a family. And the dues just help us maintain cost of operations. And we appreciate your support for that. Thank you. Presenters, please keep your eye on David Greenwell. He will be the timer tonight and he will be keeping us on track as much as possible. We pride ourselves in adhering to time in order to not let meetings get away from us and to not keep you for longer than expected. Mahalo to our IT crew tonight, Mary Beth, Michaela, and Keck. Appreciate you folks. And I wanted to mention that WCA would love to find a community member who's interested in helping us with tech at our monthly meetings. Doesn't have to be every month, but we would love to free up our board members if it works out on occasion. So if you know someone or it's you that would like to cook for your community, please let one of us know. Thank you. Tonight we'll also be foregoing community announcements, but we have encouraged our community partners to bring flyers. So there's lots of flyers over here about events and things to sign up for, the police department. So please take a look at that. And while you're there, there's holly brownies, the famous chaos recipe, and water for your enjoyment. We'll also be foregoing police report. Thank you, Cap, for being understanding of that and still being here. Appreciate it. And we're foregoing the county council updates as well. So both of those will be at our February 5th meeting. All right. For our opening pule, we love the tradition of honoring and respecting the various faith-based groups that make up our wonderful community. But tonight's a little different as we provide a Waimea remembrance for our beloved Hawaiʻi County Fire Chief Kazuo Todd. We're blessed to have Danny and Anna Akaka with us to give an opening pule and mana'o on the new year, and as well as for Kazuo. Danny and Anna have blessed. But at least keep it together by now. Danny and Anna have blessed many fire trucks and helicopters that Chief Todd helped attain for the county fire department, along with the help of the Sayre Foundation and people like Mark and Lynn Benioff. Thank you, Mark, for coming. Appreciate it. Dreams came true, and always to be there to be a part of it was Anna and Danny. So it seemed fitting for them to be here tonight. So please help me welcome Danny and Anna.
Oh Lord, you us pray. Lekako. Koma kalani. Amekau keki. Kalani amori. Na uma kor na tuko na. We gathered as one ohana. In loving memory. A dear friend. And one who always is family and community first in everything that he did. Our aloha nui to Kazuo, Todd, and to his woman, and all those we worked along with to make this community a better and safer place to live. We thank you for the gift of his life. We ask for the blessings of Kazuo as he now embarks upon a new work, a new journey. Continue this work. E maua kokoko na kaiu kahaku Yesu Kristo. Ke aloha o ke akua kamakua me ka launa pū ana mai i ka uhana mai. Me Kazuo, me kona ohana ku. Mai ke ala aku, ai kamanapa pau o. I ola mau no, ko noa. Kazuo Todd. Mama ua noa, lele nā pule. Lele no mea kula. Amen. Amen. We are so come together with much aloha because and as fate turned out, as we did the blessing of the fire truck, we spent that day with Kazuo, the day before his passing. And we thought that we opened up this pule with an odi, with a chant, and carrying these two leis. The mighty lei is a lei that is symbolic of the piko, or the spiritual cord that connects us with our loved ones, with our ohana, with our ancestral past, as well as those yet unborn. And so this mighty lei represents that spiritual connection that we hold for our loved ones, such as Kazuo. But this Leila'i, this other lei, is a lei that Kazuo wore at the blessing. And when he left or forgot the lei on the table, and we decided to take it.
It's sitting next to us.
Yes, as he was sitting right next to us. And so we wanted to bring the two leis together and to entwine them together as a symbol of our love and our aloha for Kazuo and all the wonderful work that he has done.
And so as we have placed the leis on Kazuo's picture, we will leave it there for the evening. And in the tradition of Hawaii, our understanding is the maile is that piko, that connection, that spiritual connection between us and Kazuo and to other beloved ones, but tonight to Kazuo. And when you place your aloha into the lei, it will be your aloha that is placed into the lei that will be for him and with him. The lei can then be placed into the ocean and let it set sail as he has set sail on his new voyage in his new life, his heavenly life. And so that through the evening, you may send your aloha to the lei, or at some point before you leave, you may place your aloha into that lei. Kazuo. Mahalo.
Thank you both so much. Super special and ironic that you ended up with that lei. Okay. Let's move forward in remembering what Chief Todd meant to Waimea and the entire county. I'll begin by sharing that Riley and I attended both of the memorials this past weekend. Both days were incredible. Lots of tears, lots of stories, and memories of an amazing man, son, husband, father, brother, uncle, and friend, colleague to many. The stories on an unintended theme, and the qualities repeated themselves over and over and over. But we learned that Kazuo was a bit of a nerd. His mother shared. Very well organized, a very big planner, a computer whiz. These are things I thought I would share because you may not know. A candy company owner. He was a fixer in general, a person full of gratitude, and one who encouraged everyone he knew to make sure that they took the time to tell those around them that they love them and appreciate them. That came up a couple of times. He always wanted to make sure that he told people that you love them and you appreciate them. He had plans for traveling and another career, but his time was cut short. It was said also repeatedly that he made everyone feel special. Some people said they were mad because they thought they were just the special ones, but everybody is special. Oh my gosh, you're here. Oh, well, this is Lauren, Kazuo's assistant, secretary, whatever, right arm.
Great.
Thank you for coming. And Chief Volpe. Oh, okay. Yes, so it was said that he made everyone feel special. It was also said that someone must have needed something fixed somewhere, and so away he goes. I was comforted to hear that he was fully engaged with those he worked with, and people have a really good sense of moving forward without him and because of him. Many said that he advanced their careers, and all said that they were better people because of knowing him. We will now play a brief clip that features Chief at our 2024 Mahalo to First Responders event. We featured him and he was touched. After we play this, we'll hear from a few folks who are close to him and have some reflective time to remember and mahalo him.
We're having our.
Maybe we stop it.
And to keep the whole thing on my end. I think that measure is on your notes, audio. No, I have it. And everybody says that I shut off the voice, so just like the video. Mute the Zoom. It is. That's in that. No, we thought.
I didn't turn it up, okay, all right.
Good evening and thank you for having us here. I don't know that many of you have heard of Kazuo's connection to this part of the island. But like many local kids, he grew up with the mo'olelo, the stories of our family. My great-grandfather was a ranch foreman at the Robert Hind Ranch. My father taught at Kauai and walked along the shoreline with a man he called Old Man Lono, who was the caretaker of Pu'ukohola and a kahuna lapa'au. And these stories were passed on to Kazuo. I told him about riding horses in Waimea, of getting caught in the flood as we were coming up from Kauai and had to seek refuge from a house on the road, about swimming in the ice-cold waters of the streams of Waimea. As a canoe paddler, he camped at Kauai, and one night, on the pretext that we had to guard the canoes, we camped at Hapuna when camping was not allowed on the beach, but we had a race and we got a $5,000, now I guess maybe $50,000 koa canoe. We've got to keep an eye on it. So Kazuo got to camp next to the canoe that night. But this is his childhood, his growing up, spending time in different parts of the island. And he felt connected to every part of the island and every community. He cared deeply about the safety, the health, the welfare, the vision of the island. I think for our family, aside from just the crushing loss, is we've missed out on the next chapter. He had planned to go back to school. He was going to study to become an architect because he wanted to design better buildings. He wanted somehow to find a way to build affordable, fire-resistant, earthquake-resistant homes, because he felt that if we planned better and built better, it would reduce risk and make everyone, including the men in uniform, safer. And he felt that that was his job, to make the community and the people that he worked with safer. Beyond that, I would add, he really did emphasize telling whoever is in your family, your friends, that you love them. Don't wait for another day. Call them, give them a hug. His brother and sister, remember how much he loved them. And we are warned by his memories. We're sad, but we're hoping. We're working on the next generation. So I'm working on my grandchildren. I want an architect that will follow that vision. So thank you so much. He loved this community. And Waimea has a special place in our hearts.
Thank you, BJ. His second mom, she's self-professed, Laura Mallory Sayre.
The story behind that is after 28 and some years, some months, 28 years and some months, I teased Kazuo one time and I said, I'm sure I'm the fire mom. If not the fire mom, at least I'm the auntie. He said, no, you're the fire mom. So I will take the title from Kazuo. I'm going to share a story that I've shared twice already, and I apologize for those of you who are at the memorial, but, this bears repeating, especially because I'm here in front of the Waimea Community Association. The day that Kazuo died, we were at Kauai blessing a fire truck that we had gotten money for through a community fundraiser for the Kohala Ranch Association for 14A volunteer, fire department. And, he came and spoke right after Frank and Anna. And, gave us big hugs, and I think he had just come in from home to the World War, and he called him and said, "You better be there." And he said, "Well, I'm there." And so he came in and gave us big hugs, and they handed him the microphone, and he said, "Oh, anyone who knows me knows I love a microphone because I love to talk." He said, "You're all in trouble." And of course, everybody laughed. And the first thing he said was, "I love my job. I love my job. I love being your fire chief. And the reason that I love being your fire chief is because I get to be with community like you. I get to be with the people who really care about making a difference." And he talked about how valuable community was and how we really had that here on our island. And one of the first things he talked about was what a difference it made to have volunteer firefighters as well as his crew, because the volunteers came when he needed them the most, when the fires were raging, for the Mono Road fire, and also the day that Lahaina burned down. We had 9 fires on this island, and many of the communities were threatened, including Montana. And the volunteers came and helped put out those fires, and we didn't lose any homes. We lost the building, but that was it. And a lot of that was due to his volunteer firefighters coming. And how respected they were by his crew and by him himself. And he went on to say that he valued the Waimea Community Association so much, and Nancy Carr Smith, because in that 3-week fire from on the road, he only had to provide 1 meal for his crew, and that was breakfast on the first day. And from that point on, Nancy and everybody up here, the people who brought in potluck, the people who had restaurants, the community as a whole came together for 3 solid weeks and fed his people. And he said, "You know, I have to tell you, that doesn't happen anywhere else. I have talked to the other chiefs of the other islands. I have talked to people on the mainland, and nobody has it better than me. Nobody. Nobody has community like I have community." I think you should all be really proud of that. That's so special. We're so lucky and so blessed to live here. We've got so many good people who are so willing to give everything and just drop everything else they're doing, including the volunteer firefighters who do not get paid. You know, and he went on to say what a difference it had made with having the right assets. Mark and Lynn had helped us with all those amazing trucks they were instrumental in helping to put that fire. We could not fly helicopters that day. There were 80 to 90 mile an hour winds. And if it hadn't been for those trucks, the ones the volunteers had also, we would have had a much different outcome. We may have lost entire communities. So I think just coming from Kazuo, that's what he was talking about. And he was in his heyday that day. And that night he passed away. And I just think if you're gonna go out, you should go out in glory. And he sure did that day. I just think that he's gonna be watching over all of us. So when you see an eel fly by, I think it's Kazuo. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's segues right into Mike Shattuck, captain of volunteer station 9B. Come on. Meanwhile, I love this picture of Kazuo and his wife Miko and their daughter Akane. You might enjoy seeing it. Thanks, Mike.
Well, I'm supposed to be following a crew of 3 firefighters who were supposed to give some notice in advance so that I could come in with a simple piece of paper talking about volunteers. I'll just read it to you since I spent the time on it. Chief Todd was like a brother to me. I'm sure that many of both the career and volunteer firefighters that I know, they know what I mean. For a man who is always so busy, he still managed to find time to check in with his firefighters. There's one gentleman over there who's the same way. Chief would stop by our station on occasion just to see how we were doing. His visits meant a lot to us. Chief did a lot to help the volunteer program. There were changes in apparatus, training, and recruitment that helped the volunteers to keep moving forward to help the paid guys. And it was crucial. And at this point in time, HFD had 24 volunteer fire stations with 110 volunteers on the roster. He was always thinking about how he could continue to make things better. And from here, I'm supposed to say, "Ahui ho, Chief, we're going to miss you." But I think we've already said that. If any of you have any questions, want to talk to me later about being a volunteer firefighter or joining the fire department, there's the man right there that has all the answers. So you're welcome to talk to me too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Acting Chief Volpe. Daniel Volpe is here with us and has say a few words. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan Volpe. I was appointed Deputy Chief about 1.5 years ago now. I've had the honor of serving next to Kazuo for the last, that whole time right at his side. I feel like we've been doing this quite a bit over the last week or 2 weeks or so. These moments of remembrance, these moments to kind of discuss and what he meant to us and what he meant to the fire department. And it's been an honor. Like because Chief and I, we worked together for almost 20 years. We were firefighters together. We crossed paths over the years. We took different paths. I went to become a paramedic. He went into prevention. I went into finally back to the fireside. He went into the chief's fossil, the warehouse. I became a captain, and he decided to become the fire chief. And it wasn't until I became a captain, I started kind of going through the battalion chief process to get promoted, that he started sort of little by little reeling me in. He started bringing me into meetings, inviting me to stuff. And what I found was that what he was doing is, it's a matter of perspective. From the fire station, coming up at the fire station, it's very easy to kind of think about your responsibilities, a very narrow perspective, right? Your guys, your station, your equipment is very important. That's the most important thing. And then you get to sort of a battalion chief level and you realize that one station is one of many. And BC has lots of issues and lots of important things. And then you get to the point where you become the battalion chief or the fire chief. And now it's all important, right? And so one of those things where it all matters and it's all important. And until I started really working at his side, and he would feed me, "Here, help me with this grant. Help me with this project. What do you think about this?" And what he's really doing is starting to widen my perspective and trying to see the bigger picture. And it wasn't until I worked at his side that I realized, like, oh, he crosses the state. The count, not only, like his impact to the Hawaii Fire Department is monumental. It's shoes that are too big for any one of us to fill. But his impact to the county, like the county of Hawaii is a safer place to live because of the rules of. His impact on the state, he started my first 6 months in the position, he dragged me to every meeting in Oahu and State Fire Council and Fire Commission and the Hawaii Fire Chief Association. And then I started to realize that his impact crosses the state. The state fire marshal, the progress made on the State Fire Council, it wouldn't have happened without his push, his drive. His work ethic is legendary. You probably worked with him over the years and projects and been there and know how much he works. And really it was all because he cared. Like you said, he loved being the fire chief. And he didn't love it for the size of the badge, he didn't care about the office, he didn't care, he gave up his work car because prevention needed a vehicle, so he drove his Tacoma around all over the place, because that's all that mattered, is the work. If someone needs a vehicle, it's theirs, if someone needs a space, it's theirs. The work is really all that mattered. And that's kind of the legacy he leaves for us, he leaves behind, is the focus on the work. We continue the work, unfortunately, 911 doesn't stop. While during the service, there's ambulances are moving around, we don't stop, we continue, and that legacy of work, that legacy of service is kind of what he leaves behind for us. From the Hawaii Fire Department, from the career side to the volunteer side to ocean safety, to our administrative staff, there's 500 people, community members, friends, family, residents that are here, that are part of our team, that we rest assured we will continue. You call 911, we'll come, and that doesn't stop. The vehicles that were purchased, the generous donations, the gifts over the years, the hard work is what enables us to do that mission, and we will continue. Again, shoes that are too big for us to fill, but that legacy of purpose lives on, and we will continue. For everybody here, know that your community, your association matters, that sense of community matters, and the fire department will continue. Thanks in part to these kind of community members, the participation here. We always kind of split our duties. He always said, you know what, I'll do all the community stuff. I'll go to the town halls, I'll go to the neighborhood watch, I'll go to the community association. And we went place to place to place and said, you run the department. I'll face outside, you face inside. And that's what we did. So my first Waimea Community Association was just a few months ago. And he had surgery. And I said, you know what, I got this one. Don't worry, don't even worry about it. Don't even think about it. I'll be here and I'll be present now, because I recognize how important that is to show up for the community that supports us. And I'm happy to do it. And then he showed up. We were telling him, what are you, and the first time I see him, he come in on crutches. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, I came so you didn't have to. But he knows just a single testament how important that relationship was, how important it stayed, and he'll be here on crutches. And that's just a small example of just what he was. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for remembering Chief Todd.
Thank you very much, Chief. Yeah, that was amazing, in November when he actually showed up. I'm sure Lauren was ready to kill him for that. But yeah, everyone said, oh, Chief is here. I said, what? Chief's not supposed to be here. And there he was. That meant a lot to us. It was very touching. And anyway, thank you all for being here and letting us take this time to remember him. Just wanted to have a special Waimea remembrance for him, and we'll always love and remember him. So now we're going to shift gears into the next phase of our meeting. Lonnie Olson-Chong is going to take over from here to introduce our spotlight nonprofit.
We now feature our nonprofit spotlight for the evening, Hawaiʻi Island Food Basket. Food Basket's mission is to end hunger, and they have been doing it since 1989. Joining us this evening is Executive Director Kristen Frost Albrecht. Following Kristen's presentation, our board members Victor Tom and Ryan Ushijima will pass the baskets and accept your donations toward the food basket. Help me welcome Kristen Frost Albrecht.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. A special night to be here. Okay, I'm on a really tight time frame here. I promised Nancy, and I will stick to it. So aloha. Tonight we're talking about something that touches many of our neighbors, food insecurity on Hawaiʻi Island. At the food basket, our commitment is simple. No one on this island should go hungry. Before I say more, I'd like you to hear from our team about who we are and who we serve. Next slide.
Welcome to the food basket. We are Hawaiʻi County Food Bank. Perfect. No? I don't think I'm seeing what you do. Here.
And our keiki are hit hardest. Next slide. More than 3 out of every 5 children, that's 62%, experience food hardship. Parents skip meals so their children can eat. This affects health, learning, and well-being, and it's not something any family should face alone.
Why this is happening. The main driver is the cost of living. Housing, utilities, and transportation costs leave little room for food. Many working families are forced to choose between groceries, rent, or medical care. Food insecurity isn't about poor choices. It's about impossible ones. Next one. Food insecurity affects both physical and mental health. Stress, anxiety, and chronic illness are more common when families don't know where their next meal is coming from. It also impacts communities unevenly. Native Hawaiian, Filipino, and Pacific Islander families experience higher rates. That tells us the solution must be rooted in culture, community, and connection. The food basket's role. Well, the food basket is here to support our island every day and in times of crisis. With hubs in Hilo and Kona and a network of over 100 partners, we help move food across the island. Kokua Ministries, St. James, and Annunciation are all superstars in this work and are proof that strength comes from community, neighbors helping neighbors. Ending hunger means meeting immediate needs while building long-term resilience. That includes supporting families, strengthening food access, and investing in local food systems. This work is about malama aina, malama keiki, and malama each other. The next video is from a recent ohana drop here in Waimea.
For many years, Waimea Community Association has dedicated our January town meeting to legislative updates. This is an opportunity to hear from our Senator Tim Richards and Representative David Tarnas. Prior to the opening of the legislature, which is coming up in just a few days, we look forward to hearing what their priorities are and take the time to share what's important to us. They will have 18 minutes each, and then we will have 15 minutes of questions and answers. Keyword, question. With respect to everyone's time, we ask that you ask your question, keeping any dialogues you might have for a separate meeting with Tim and David. Senator Tim Richards was born and raised in Kohala and graduated from HPA. He went on to Washington State University for a bachelor's degree in animal science and a master's in veterinary medicine. Tim became our senator in 2022 and represents District 4. Please welcome Senator Tim Richards.
Always have to start out the same way. Aloha. Okay, see, that's a big island, aloha. They don't do that on Oahu. I'm trying to get them to do that. So again, I am Tim Richards. I'm very pleased to be here today. I want to talk story a little bit about this. Rep Tarnas and I will do a dog and pony show for you and try and answer questions. I've been informed that we are under, Patty Cook rules and we have just a few minutes to talk. Just to keep things short, and I think it's really more important for the question answer, so we'll get to that. And we'll gallop through this. I may skip through a few slides just to keep this short, so with it. First, let's talk a little bit about what went on last year, and probably the most hallmark thing that we got through for agriculture was Duke's Law. And this is a law that was named after Cranston Duke Pia, who was murdered a couple of years ago. His mom came to see me just days after that happened, and I gave her my word that we weren't gonna let this go. What evolved was Duke's Law, and it stiffened the penalty for crimes in agriculture. There were four bills that came before us. And we touched on this at the legislative wrap up, but it came from the Attorney General office, it came from Department of Law Enforcement, came from Department of Agriculture, and then I had a portion of that. It was encompassing all agriculture, increasing the penalties and setting up a structure to enforce crimes against agriculture. It had a biosecurity side, the regulatory side, and then the portion I had put in was a standard ground. Long story short, we got this law and it's starting to work. We can touch on that a little bit later. Next. What are the legislative priorities? This is an amalgamation of mine and the Senate overall. It's pretty simple. The needs of the community, the needs of society. I look at everything or almost everything with an agricultural lens. If we're talking about housing, I want to talk about ag housing. If we're talking about food, I want to talk about how we're going to grow food. So I look at it from those lenses. You can see here, I have agriculture, housing, environment, infrastructure, food security, and healthcare security. All of these are Senate priorities that are going to be coming forth, and I take special interest in a few of these. My good friend Kristen Frost Albrecht, I have worked with her for numerous years now. What she reported on, they put out the food banks of our state put out a great report. I'm a geek enough that I actually read that report, and after I read it, I was so upset I called Kristen and said, how are we gonna fix this? We have a real problem with food security in our county, in our state. And I can get into some of my arguments of that, but we can talk about school maintenance, we can talk about road maintenance, but kids are hungry tonight. And so that is one of my big push buttons. Next slide. Some of the things we're working on and expanding the agricultural biosecurity, this all ties into food production, food security. If we don't have the biosecurity side, we are going to be impacting our ability to produce the food that we all say we want to grow. Because of that, we have ramped up our Department of Agriculture, changed its name to Agriculture and Biosecurity, and we are patterning after New Zealand, which is the gold standard. One of the other things we looked at, and it's funny, when you become an elected official, you look at things differently. When I travel, I look at their infrastructure. How do they fund it? How do things work in other jurisdictions, both nationally and internationally? To keep food costs reasonable, in Europe, they heavily subsidize agriculture. I'm not wild about ag subsidies, but I think government has to look at subsidizing transportation, infrastructure costs that will keep control of those costs, which reduces the cost of living, which is part of the problem we discussed in the slide. This is kind of a little bit of a not too novel, but transfer the transportation portion of water carriers from PUC to Department of Transportation. This has been done before, is my understanding, but I think we'll get a better product if it's under the Department of Transportation. So we're working on that. Next slide. Lalumilo farm lot expansion. This is something I've been thinking about. We have about 500 acres in Lalumilo farm lots right now. I'd like to double it. It's gonna take a lot of infrastructure, it's gonna take a lot of push, but where better than right here? We have the potential right here, so this is something I'm working on. Next slide. Oh, and portion of that, taking a portion of that land and putting it into workforce housing. And if we're gonna have agriculture, we're gonna need water, and this is something that David and I have talked a lot about. We need to ramp up how we are using the infrastructures that we already have in place. We have to make it more efficient, we have to make it more accessible. And we have to manage them better. We have a lot of work to get done with those, but the potential infrastructure is there. We just have to use it. Next slide. This is a weird one, but in this community, better than any place else. Under Department of Land and Natural Resources, you're allowed to rodeo on those lands. Under Department of Agriculture, you are not. That's what I said. It makes no sense. And so initially, I'm pushing DOA really hard, or DOAB now, really hard on allowing rodeo on agricultural land. They said, but that's a commercial entity. Well, my pushback is so is agriculture. It's a commercial entity. The point is, this is cultural and this is important to our industry. I got tired of waiting for them to go through the administrative rule process. So now we're just going to change the law and fast track it. I have a lot of support on that coming forward. No surprise, anybody in agriculture gets it. Next slide. This one is controversial. This was the initial portion of the standard ground for Duke Pia, and this allows people in agriculture to stand the ground and defend what they are working on. It's very specific, the language we've worked on. You can read the numbers up there. It hasn't been totally fleshed out yet, and I am working with the Attorney General's office. I am very sensitive to her concerns that we don't just open up a Wild West. I get it. The pushback is, what else are we going to do? And we are working hard. The Department of Law Enforcement, Mike Lambert's department, is working very hard on enforcing Duke's law. And I want to shout out to our county police, because I really appreciate we were able to serve the first search warrant for a cow this year. Attorney General's office was thrilled because they said, really, you're doing this for a cow? The point is, yes, it was done. The sheriffs were able to serve it and retrieve a stolen animal. And we had our county police department backing them up, so I really appreciate that, Chief. Thank you very much. There's a lot of conversation before this comes through, but again, this is put in so we can at least have the conversation about safety. Next slide. David, don't move for time.
Yeah, 5, 10 minutes.
Oh,
Go ahead. No, what, 5 minutes?
Ag workforce housing. We keep talking about housing. At county, I worked hard for housing. We keep pushing on housing, and we have 1,000 reasons why we can't build housing. So, again, we'll be pushing forth on this again from my lens, agricultural workforce housing. Next slide. Infrastructure. Did I mention infrastructure? Unless we have that infrastructure, I'm talking about infrastructure for agriculture, but I'm also talking about for transportation, but I'm also talking about food management, cold storage, all of that. We need to ramp this up. People say, well, where should we start? I said, there's no one place. We have to start everywhere and bring it all up together slowly. If we can do that, I think we'll really start making a big swing at getting towards that food security. We're never going to be 100%, but we can start taking big swings at that and get things addressed. Part of that is, you can see there, the deal in our dam safety issue. And this has been a bone of contention for me for a long time. I don't agree with the way the law is written. I've been working on changing that. We talk about wanting food security. We have to store more water, but then we make it so impossible to have that infrastructure. We have to look at this differently, and I'll keep chipping away at that next slide. pump storage hydro. I've mentioned this before, and this is a project that I dreamt up with, talked with friends, they gave me some ideas for 15 years plus. On Hawaiian homelands in Kohala, we put together a pump storage hydro, and I think I talked about this, maybe 4 to 6 months ago. Long story short, what this would do for agriculture is increase water on the land, boost production, give us a potential for finishing cattle and other agriculture. What it'll do for Hawaiian homes, more water on the land, more potable water, so we can expand Kailapa and also generate a revenue stream because of the energy generated by the hydroelectric. So again, I continue working on this project, and I really don't take the answer no very well. I just keep chipping away at it, see if I can make this happen. Next slide. And again, just further on the pump storage hydro, we can answer questions on that later. Next slide. This kind of wraps everything what I was talking about. It comes down to taking care of the needs of the community. We had caucus today, and we're talking about looking at what the impacts of the cuts have done to our state, the federal cuts, and how we're going to marshal our way through it. I was asked at a community meeting in Waianae during the summer, how we're going to take care of ourselves for the next year. I said, basically for the next year, we're okay. Because we, the legislature, were able to get funding put in place in case of an emergency. We had it. And it was the Senate and the House. It was a co-initiative. We put it together, $200 million for programs and $50 million for the grants and aid. The question is, what we're going to do in this upcoming session. That's where David and I started to have to get some work done. Next slide. So with that, I want to thanks for being up here, and I'm going to turn this over to Rep. Tarnas, and then I think we'll do a question and answer after that. Is that correct? Again, everyone, thank you very much.
Senate House Representative David Tarnas represents District 8, which is North and South Kohala. David previously represented District 7 prior to lines being redrawn, and he is up for re-election this year. After tonight's meeting, we will not have any potential candidates at our meetings to speak until we have our candidate forums later this year. Please welcome Representative David Tarnas.
Well, thank you so much for being here this evening. I'm grateful to be able to join you. I brought a number of things that if you wish to take them, they're available on the table over here. There's this great resource for guiding you how to participate in the legislative process. How do you track bills? How do you submit testimony? So over on the table here, there's a guide to the Hawaii State Legislature website. So take it with you so you can learn about it, so you can track bills. How do you receive hearing notices by email? Make it really easy for you to track bills and submit testimony. How do you submit testimony? And then I brought copies of the 2026 session calendar so you can follow along with what we're doing. So these things are available over there on the table. I also have copies of our directory, so you know all of our phone numbers and emails, so you can contact us directly. And then one more thing I have over there is the House Majority priorities for this session. And I'm just going to highlight, I don't have much time to go over it all, but we want to, as a House Majority, we're committed to working on passing legislation for building more housing for local residents, supporting Native Hawaiians, preserving the social safety net, expanding workforce development and retention programs, enhancing tax revenue, and diversifying and strengthening Hawaii's economy. Those are broad statements, and during session is when we'll flesh those out into specific bills. And I'm going to highlight some bills that we're going to be doing. I chair the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee. To be candid, I would much prefer chairing the committee I used to chair, which is Water and Land, because that's my profession. I'm an environmental planner by profession. But this speaker, the previous speaker, and the current speaker said, listen, we need you to carry the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee because it's such a big committee with such a large scope of responsibilities. And you're one of the few people as chairs that can handle that workload. And you've got the ability to manage it because there's a lot of controversial issues that we deal with. So I'm continuing to chair that committee. I want to make a priority to address Hawaiian affairs more than we did last session. And that's a priority for me because we have such a long wait list on the Hawaiian homes, and we need to do a better job. So in the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, they've got their own legislative package, which we'll be hearing those bills to extend the general excise tax exemption on their projects. They want to have membership on the boards of the Hawaii Community Development Association and on the agency and the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation. But what they really need is a regular, dependable annual appropriation. We appropriated $600 million to them a couple of years ago, and Kali Watson, who's chair of Department of Hawaiian Homelands, has done a great job to encumber those funds. They have started the infrastructure for a lot of different housing projects on homestead land across the state. And now they need to take it to the phase 2, which is vertical construction. So we can actually build homes. Not everyone who is going to get homestead leases wants to buy a home. Some want to build their own home. Some will work with Habitat for Humanity. But some want to be able to lease they want to buy a home on the leased property. So the House majority is working on a bill that would provide that annual funding of about $60 million a year. And we're proposing to do it through an increase in the conveyance tax on multi-million-dollar homes. So it's not a wealth tax, because I don't want to drive away our well-to-do individuals who are residents here. I want them to stay here because they contribute so much to our community. And that's an important thing that I want to help continue to happen. Their donations as philanthropists are very important to us. But I think when you have increased the conveyance tax on high-end homes, that gets incorporated into their financial planning for purchasing the property and improving the property. So I'm okay with that. So I'm sure it will be controversial. Not everyone's happy with it, but that's what our proposal is. Because we need to get DHHL some regular funding going forward. Office of Hawaiian Affairs, they also have a legislative package of bills that they're putting forward. And so I'll work on moving as many of those forward as I can that I agree with. They would like to get membership on, the key thing we're working on with Office of Hawaiian Affairs is through the Public Lands Working Group is first agreeing upon an inventory of public lands. Where are all the public lands and how many are there? And then secondly, what will be the lands that are required to provide 20% of revenues to Office of Hawaiian Affairs? There are numerous state agencies that are on public lands that generate revenue that do not contribute 20% to Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And we need to straighten that out because Office of Hawaiian Affairs has done their own analysis and they think they have been shortchanged by many, many millions of dollars. And I'd like to solve that intractable problem. We've been dealing with this for decades. And so I'm trying to push that forward so we can resolve it with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and with the state. It won't be easy, but I'm pushing for that. A key priority we're looking, the House majority is looking to address our immigration laws. As you know, this is a real crisis situation that we're facing across the country and here in Hawaii as well. There is a bill that I didn't move last session, but we are going to consider this session. And that would be to require the ICE agents to have a badge and not wear a mask. It's just too scary for people to have someone, I mean, you see the clips, the video, what's happening in Minnesota and other places. It's scary. You have people out there, you don't know who they are. They're masked, they have no identification, and they're just pushing people around and tragically shooting people who resist. And, you know, we trust our police. They're our brothers, our uncles, our friends, our family members, and to have this kind of distrust of enforcement is not good for anybody. It's not good for the federal government. It's not good for our local law enforcement. We need to build trust, and having a badge and not having a mask on is one way to ensure that people know who they are and that they can respond, that individuals, citizens can respond courteously and respectfully to their request for identification or whatever. I would also, I'm not proposing the bill, but there is going to be a bill proposed that will restrict our local law enforcement agencies from signing agreements to do immigration enforcement. Our police agencies here are short-staffed. They don't have enough police officers. They've got plenty to do and not have to add on top of that doing immigration enforcement. And some of the police chiefs are saying, well, we're not doing that. We're focusing on our other jobs. But there is a bill that we'll be considering that will make that clear, that there won't be, they will be able to be deputized to do other federal enforcement, like for, the protecting of marine mammals or federally protected species, but not for immigration law. So that's something that we're going to be considering. In the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee, I've got a broad scope. I've got all the bills for the Ethics Commission, the Campaign Spending Commission, Hawaii Civil Rights Commission, the Office of Elections, Office of Public Defender, the Judiciary, the Prosecuting Attorney. All of those bills come to my committee. So it's a heavy lift. And I'm just going to highlight just a couple until David tells me I got to stop.
3 minutes.
Okay. Campaign Spending Commission, I'm going to work again to try to ban state government contractors from donating to state elected officials. I just think that there's too much possibility for mischief, so I don't want to do that. So I want to also change the statute of limitations so that when so that it would start when the campaign fraud is discovered rather than when the offense took place. Because right now, we're looking at an allegation of a campaign finance fraud. It happened some time ago, and that statute of limitations could end soon. But if we started it when it was discovered, it gives us more time for actually carrying out the enforcement and investigation and enforcement of that fraud. The Hawaii Civil Rights Commission, they've asked us to extend the statute of limitations for employment discrimination, because what's happening is that people are taking it to the federal agency to try to get it addressed. The federal agency is slow walking it, and more often than not, rejecting it and declining to actually prosecute it. And by that time, the statute of limitations has run out. So we want to extend it so that if the federal agency is not going to pursue it, they'll be able to ask the state agency to pursue it. Office of Elections, we are proposing some bills that the Chief Elections Officer could only be fired for cause, not because the Election Commission has some crazy idea that there's rampant fraud, which there isn't, but that's what this Election Commission is asserting. And I don't want to have our very good Chief Elections Officer fired because there's folks on the Election Commission that don't like him. So the Chief Elections Officer could only be fired for cause. Second, if there happens to be a vacancy, the Chief Elections Officer, we would designate the Attorney General as the acting Chief Elections Officer so that the AG could certify the results of the election. Because if we don't have a Chief Elections Officer, we cannot certify the results of the election. It would be chaos. So we want to deal with that. Office of Public Defender. We had appropriated funds to provide them a much needed salary increase last session. It was supposed to start in July 1. They haven't even gotten it yet, which is just absurd. And I've made a big fuss about it. And I'm going to continue pushing it until we get that paid. And so that'll be a big thing for us. Judiciary, I want to increase the pay for jury members because that hasn't happened for years. Their top priority for a capital improvement project is a new South Kohala courthouse. If any of you have been to the courthouse, you know how tiny that is. It's just insufficient to protect attorney-client privacy. When it's raining, our beautiful sideways cold rain, People are huddled under this tiny little veranda, and it's really insufficient. It is not secure. Our very good judge is exposed to potential attacks because it's just not a secure facility. So we're gonna be doing that. There's a host of other bills that I'm working on as well. And you know, I'm proposing a dark skies bill, which is basically to take what we have here in this county and go statewide, because we need to protect our dark skies so that we can see our stars. We're doing housing projects, education projects. I want to get a hazard pay for our teachers who worked during COVID. CIP, I want to also acknowledge the Waimea Community Emergency Evacuation Center that needs to be funded. It's a partnership between the county and the state. And so we're going to try to move forward with that. At the same time, you know, I've got other big projects that I'm trying to work on as well. Kohala High School needs a new gymnasium and others. I've got a long list of other things, but I think I'm going to wrap it up because David is saying that's it. Let's go to questions. So thank you very much. It's an honor to serve you, and I look forward to working with you this session.
Now, here we go. Okay. Thank you. Anyone have questions? Here.
You can stay seated, David.
Stay seated.
That's a snake going.
I got it.
I'm 92 years old. In the next 7.5 years, I would like to see all plastic recycled. I would like to see Hawaiian homelands down here by the dump build out. And I would like to see more people who are able to work, volunteer on the farmlands, because nobody wants to work for them. It's hard work.
Did you have a
Thank you.
question?
Thank you. Those are great suggestions, David, and we'll take those to heart moving forward. And I am working with DHHL to try to get that next phase of the project adjacent to the transfer station moving. But your other suggestions are great, and I'll pursue that. Thank you again.
I'll get the next question here. Hi, my question is, you guys are talking about food insecurity, but you guys don't address the problem of, transportation from the harbors to the community. Why don't we build, cranes to take off the water? Yeah, the question is, why don't we get cranes built for the harbors so we can unload containers, ship, be cheaper that way. Wouldn't be hostage to what you call.
Okay, let me take a swing at that one. Okay.
Can I interject real quick? Because James, you asked me to consider getting DOT Director Ed Sniffen here, and he's coming March 5th. So he'll be addressing a lot of those things, but go ahead.
Well, long and the short of it is, we're talking about the infrastructure, and James, you're right, and that's why one of the things we're pushing is that infrastructure. Transportation is big when it comes to agriculture. We can grow stuff, but we gotta get it to the market as well. You're talking the other way around. And at the piers, why don't we put the big cranes on the piers? That's a cost benefit deal, and this is something that is being looked at. But it's not something we're just gonna jump and do, because we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's a business model that has to be put together to make it make sense, but Director Sniffen is the best one to answer that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I came from a place called Park City. We used to call it No Parking City. Where are you gonna put all the cars eventually with growth?
For this island, is our,
As it grows.
well, that's always the challenge. When I was born in the county, we had 60,000 residents. Today we have over 200,000. The Big Island is big, and we have a lot of space. I think you may be referencing what we're going to do with the traffic, not just necessarily the parking. We need to build more homes and housing, and that's what Rev. Tarnas and I have been talking about. the infrastructure we also need to expand is our roadway system. We're not quite ready for mass transit because that's gonna be expensive. Eventually we'll get there. But we are working on the infrastructure. One of the big things that we are pushing, I spoke to Director Sniffer today, the Daniel Kilinoy extension from Mamaloha Highway down to Queen Kahumanu Highway is progressing, and that'd be a partnership with the military going forward. So we are working on the infrastructure. It's just expensive.
I just want to mention, we do have two major road construction projects that we will see in Waimea. It's going to cause everyone headaches during the construction. That's just the reality of it, but when it's done, it'll be much better. Waiaka Bridge is the first one. That intersection and the bridge will be replaced. And the second one is improvements along Kaihai Road and Lindsay Road coming up to Mamalohoa. And so that'll improve it so that it'll be safer for people to walk, to ride their bikes, and also allow the traffic to move more smoothly. So Jim and I were able to get significant funding for those two projects, which will make a big difference in town. And as I say, it's gonna be inconvenient during construction, but it'll be much better afterward.
Chuck Brown, and that's my question on Fire Road.
And I'd be happy to follow up with you after on Kaihai Road if you'd like.
Well, it's what you said, the councilman brought up, climbing lanes, because a lot of the traffic is a 50-year problem. There's one of the people at one of these meetings showed me an article that this is a 50-year problem, so we'd like that solved.
Yep.
And climbing lanes would help, because I thought it was the schools that were slowing down. It's the trucks climbing the hill, so it's one way.
Thank you.
It's not even both ways.
Thanks.
That's-
And it'd be really good to bring that up when Ed Sniffen is here too. Yeah, thanks.
I have a question, Tim. What's your challenge for being successful with the hydro plant on Kohala Mountain?
Funding initially, we're probably looking at a minimum of 200 million to get it done. There's general acceptance for it. It makes sense. It's all in the right direction, but there's more to flesh out on that. But initially, it's probably a $200 billion investment. However, there is private equity that's interested in it because this will also take steps towards our 100% renewable energy. We just have to get it there.
And let me just mention, this is in the context of the other big projects we're trying to get for our district here. The courthouse facility, the Waimea Community Emergency Evacuation Center, and then also the Kohala High School Gymnasium. Those are just a few, and just those alone are nearly $70 million. The state can only afford so much in terms of capital improvement project bond financing, and they have to divide it up amongst all the different districts. And so we've gotten more than our fair share over the years that I've been in office, because I've been in leadership with Tim in the Senate, and he's just now joined the Ways and Means Committee. That will help us for leverage in the Senate, because frankly, we had a tough time last session in the Senate. And so hopefully we'll have a better time with him on Ways and Means.
David, regarding Hawaiian affairs, do you have an update for our community on the DHHL lands at Lalamilo by the transfer station?
The update is that the unexploded ordinance has finally been cleared and it's been certified by the Department of Health that it's okay to move forward. So the Housing and Urban Development, HUD, in the federal government has said that they will now be able to issue mortgages and financing for people, which was the critical next step. And so now what the Department of Hawaiian Homelands has to do is they've got to do, basically it's been sitting for so long that they have to put investment into it to make some improvements so that it's ready to make offered. That's where we need the additional funding. And I made it very clear to Kali Watson that this is low hanging fruit. It's a small amount of money for a lot of lots that we could get going, and people are ready to build.
To add on that, David and I both chair Hawaiian Affairs. He does it in the House, I do it in the Senate. And I met with Colleen Watson, DHHL yesterday. We discussed specifically that it's ready to rock and roll, except we need the infrastructure. There is no sewer, there is no water, there are no services into that. So as Rep. Tarnow says, we need to get that infrastructure in place, but it's set to go, and that's like David said, low hanging fruit.
Yeah, we can't just do cesspools there, we can't do septic tanks, so it's gotta be a small packaged wastewater treatment plant. And sewer lines to connect that, so there is some investment we still need to make. And so.
They didn't put the sewer lines in first.
No, not back in the day when it was built, that wasn't done. So, I mean, I still think it's the best return on investment for Department of Hawaiian Homelands, and this is a highly desirable place to live. A lot of homesteaders would like to be here.
Thank you all. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can't leave without asking about education, if you could break down that as priority.
Yeah, I will speak to that only to say that, we need to continue funding for the early childhood education program statewide. We've gotten off to a good start, but more needs to be done. We need to continue funding for that. The teachers they were one of the first people out during COVID, and they had to keep working, and yet they did not get hazard pay because it wasn't in their contract. I believe they deserve it, and so that's something I'm going after as well. We need to protect the safety of our education workers, teachers and other education workers. You saw the assault on the referee that happened over on Oahu. There are teachers and education workers who are regularly harassed by community members who think that for whatever reason it's okay to harass them. And the department has not done a good job to protect their employees. So those are some of the things that I'm working on. Unfortunately, I don't serve on the education committee, so I'm working closely with our education committee chair, Whitson, to work on supporting that.
Education is always part of it. When we talked about housing, we talked about feeding kids, we do all that. Infrastructure, education is part of the infrastructure. It's not ancillary. It is critically important. When Rep. Tarnas talked about the threats to our teaching staff, 2 years ago, I think it was, we were dealing with this on Oahu, and changes were being made. But I think we can both agree not near fast enough and not harsh enough to really protect and it's not just the teachers, it's the coaches, it's everything else. The bullying going on is not just between kids, it's parents against the teaching staff, and that's the problem. Specifically on early childhood education, I know that's a passion for you. Something was supposed to be happening here in West Hawaiʻi, and it got taken off the agenda in Aloha. And I just found out about it, and I'm trying to flesh that out. I don't understand it. I think there's some funding stumbling, but I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But yes, it's high priority because that again is workforce development. If we can get young mothers back to work because we have a place for the children.
Real quick, I just wanted to also mention, a couple of years ago, I was able to get funding for a master plan for the campus at Waimea Elementary and Waimea Middle. And there's a lot of underutilized property there that could be used for educational purposes as well as teacher housing. And we need to get the community. We need to be able to convince Department of Education, and I keep trying to do this, that they need to involve the community and our community partners in that design process. And we've frankly gotten resistance from folks within the department. And I think that's unacceptable. I think we really need to have community engagement in the master planning process so it can meet the needs of the community as best as possible.
We've got one last question here from Patty.
I really appreciate what you had to say about immigration enforcement. I would like to urge and ask you, please support also safe spaces, and that includes schools, hospitals, healthcare institutions.
Yes.
Courthouses.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Should be protected.
It was on my list. I just didn't mention it. Yes, we'll have that as an additional provision within the bill It used to be federal policy not to go into courthouses and schools and hospitals, but the federal government has changed. Have you noticed? And so I need now put those protections that used to be in federal law into state law. And so that's what I'll be working on doing.
Excellent. Thank you both very much for being here. Make sure that you go over and pick up the handouts that they brought with them, along with several other good handouts too. Sorry for keeping you a little late. Appreciate your patience here tonight. Our next meeting will be February 5th. We're hoping it's gonna be here, but we haven't had confirmation yet. Our county council reps will be here one last time. It's an election year for both of them, so we'll have them come. They haven't shared with us since I think like September. So we'll give them an opportunity to update us in February, and then we'll also have a police update, as well as the Vice Squad will be here to tell us their successful stories about narcotics on the island. I guess we're doing better than all other islands. I asked, is that because we have more drugs? Anyway, they're doing a great job. So we will have both of those, and perhaps something else. And then in March, we do have, again, Director Ed Sniffen will be here. Okay, so everyone, please be safe. When you go out, please help yourself to brownies. Please make sure you take flyers and so forth from the people that bothered to bring them. And we're gonna clear this room out pretty quickly, so we appreciate your cooperation. Thank you all again. Good night.